You may have realized that being healthy feels different than it did in the past now that you're over 50. If you want to maximize your health potential but don't have time to read through overwhelming pages of Google links, this is the show for you. Welcome to Healthy Tips After 50. We love doing the research, finding solutions, talking to health experts, and learning what works and what doesn't. Now, your host. She spent the last 25 years dedicated to feeling her best and is here to share her best findings with you, Susan Rosen.
Hello, everyone. This is your host, Susan Rosen. And today I, again, have a fascinating person who is coming on to tell us all about what he's doing. And I'm very interested in hearing about it as well. So welcome. I'm going to screw this up, I know. Tom Ingegno. Ingegno. Oh, we even practiced it beforehand, and I still couldn't remember it.
It is a direct Italian word. Unless you know Italian phonetics, you will not get it right. Yeah. I have native Italian speaking people mess up my last name, so it's quite all right.
Well, it helps if I could have found where it was up on the screen. So
it's like the convenience of modern things, and then going, no, there's too many modern things in the way.
Exactly. Yes. That's also very, very true. And I'm going to close that so I don't get looking at it. Okay. So welcome. And yes, please tell us about yourself.
So I am a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine. I've been practicing for over 23 years. My current clinic is called Charm City Integrative Health in Baltimore, Maryland. Oh, wow. In addition to acupuncture, we offer about a dozen other services that are in the complementary and integrative health arena. And the whole mission of our clinic is to reduce inflammation, restore circulation, improve immune system function, and get people feeling better without drugs or surgery. In addition to that, I host a podcast called the Revenant Health with a friend of mine who is in the digital advertising sector, and we kind of talk about a lot of crazy stuff like how AI is affecting healthcare and psychedelics and all those things. And I launched my second book in January 2024 on cupping therapy, specifically how to do it at home. So it's not written for clinicians. It's written so somebody can pick up the book. It's only 131 pages long, and they can read it in a couple hours and hopefully be proficient enough to perform cupping at home. Wow.
To themselves or others? I mean, I've had people do cupping on me, but
yeah, both. So a lot of the modern cups, right? In our clinic, we use fire cupping, which is the traditional method where you use flame to create a vacuum, and then you apply the cup that way. We wanted to remove that barrier for people. That's scary, and also I don't want to get sued for having people burn their houses down.
Let alone themselves.
Yeah. So nowadays, there are plenty of kits that are available on any digital market. If you live near an Asian grocery store, you can go down the healthcare aisle.
A lot of those, yeah.
Yeah, you can probably get a cupping kit, at H Mart definitely has them. I know that's the national chain, but maybe just
Not
the
here.
East Coast. Okay, just the East Coast then. It's great. It's a large Asian supermarket that has several, so I'm originally from New York. We had a few there, and there's a couple down here in Maryland.
Okay. Well, maybe in San Francisco.
Probably. And if not, there, you can find quite a few on the West Coast. Yeah. So the kits are abundant. They're made out of plastic or silicone. They have electric ones. They, have a lot of bells and whistles, but a good kit will last you forever and not cost that much money. And along with the book, you can have a therapy that you're doing at home for your whole life.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's it, I guess, huh?
In a nutshell. That's it. This was a great podcast. I'll see you soon.
Exactly. No, I'm sure there's lots more to talk about. So, yeah. So let's go back to the beginning and
sure.
how did you end up becoming a doctor of Asian medicine?
it was a real I use the word serendipity every time I talk about it, and I feel like I say that a lot, right?
Uh-huh.
So I was geared up to be pre-med. I wanted
Okay.
to be a doctor, and my grandfather was a pharmacist, and he actually left Columbia University to go fight in World War II, then came
Mm,
back, finished his degree, and settled in Queens, and eventually moved to Nassau County, Long Island,
hmm
but had a pharmacy in Carl Place for, I don't know, long time.
hmm
And I used to help him out in high school. And I think it
Okay.
must have been junior year when he was counting out pills and he was shaking his head. And I was standing next to him and he goes, this guy is a day laborer. He gets on the back of a truck in the morning. They give him cash at the end of the day. And he's on this pill for the rest of his life. He's got to take 3 of them. And this has got to be like 92, 93.
Uh-huh.
He's paying out of pocket. He's paying $5 a
Yeah.
pill.
Oh my God.
And some simple math there, like that's $15 a day times 30. This guy is getting some cash every day that he works. That's a big part of his budget. So my grandfather looked at me and he said, this wasn't, a big ethics discussion. He just said, there's got to be a better way, and I'm
Yeah.
looking for you to find it.
Uh-huh.
And that got buried in my subconsciousness until I was pre-med at a
Uh-huh.
college, and I took a Chinese philosophy course, and
Okay.
they had an after-school Tai Chi class
Ah, yes.
that I signed up for, and I started to go, well, this is pretty cool. This whole idea of balance and yin and yang, and not too much
hmm
this way, not too much that way,
hmm
and still pre-med. I had one teacher I was talking to. He said, what do you want to do with this guy was a surgeon, and so damn intelligent. And I said, I'd really like to get into acupuncture or some kind of holistic medicine. He goes, I think you'd be great at that. And I don't know if that's was because he was discouraging me from going into Western medicine, or if he'd spent some time talking to me, kind
Yeah.
of like
Yeah.
coached me through this one
Yeah.
class.
Yeah.
And I started looking around. Now, junior year, I transferred home and I was at a technical school from a liberal arts college. And they were a little bit more brass tacks. They're like, why do you have religion? You don't need that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. The school wanted us to be well rounded. I'll take your calculus, I guess.
Yeah.
And in the junior year intersession, so that winter break, I
Mm.
got a postcard in the mail from an acupuncture school that was actually closer to my parents' house than the school I was going to, which was about 10 minutes away.
Oh my
Uh,
God.
I went to the open house, and a week and a half later, I was signed up, and I didn't look back after that. I mean, this is what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I graduated in 2001 with a master's of science in Oriental medicine. We shy away from that word now,
Yeah.
and also a bachelor's in professional health science. The
Oh.
doctorate, when I graduated, did not exist. We were told that, like, don't worry, you'll be grandfathered in when it finally
Yeah, right.
happens.
I
And then,
know. Don't you love
and,
those things?
and
Yeah.
every college was like, wait, hold on, I can make you come back for another year and a half at least for the doctorate. So I went back because I realized I was too old in the field to give up, and too young not to have the doctorate, because this profession, a lot of people do it as a second or a third career. So when I was in the
Oh.
master's program, I entered at 21. The average age
Uh-huh.
of a student was 35.
Wow.
So, when I went
Huh.
back to teach in my 20s,
Uh-huh.
and you're in clinic and, there's a group of students around you, it was always funny because the patient would start talking to the oldest student. And I'm like,
Right.
No,
No.
he's failing my class. Like you can ask his opinion. I don't know if you want it.
Yeah, right.
Um, but within that, it became a field that, like, in the States, when I started, it was 1 in 10 it had acupuncture, and now I know you're on the West Coast, so you got a skewed view anyway.
Yeah, that's true. I won't even tell you how long ago I started taking
Yeah,
acupuncture, and it
yeah,
was a lot longer than you're talking about.
yeah, and it's amazing, and the amount of people that, one, Westerners that went to Asia to bring this back, and
Mm.
two, practitioners that came here and really fought for our rights. The dean of one of my schools at one point, I think I was teaching at that school at the time. He said, he was an MD, and he said, look, we used to refer to people in Chinatown and be like, don't report them. They're not practicing medicine.
Yeah.
You got to be cool,
medicine,
but I want you to go see this guy.
Such. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And medicine within the traditional trappings of, it's even funny to call that traditional.
I know.
Modern Western medicine.
Yes. Old time modern Western medicine.
And a lot of those practitioners really fought wars and went to prison and did things that were quote unquote illegal to get me here today. And there's an expression in China that applies to everything, and we use it a lot in acupuncture, especially being an Italian American in Chinese medicine. It's when drinking water, remember the source. So when I'm doing this, I have to do this the right way because of all the people that sacrificed and brought this medicine forward. And that's going back several thousand years. I'm currently reading a book right now that is talking about a lot of this cultural exchange that happened before we thought it did, pre-Silk Road. There was a lot of talk of medicine. That was a key thing. How do we stay alive? Acupuncture and Chinese medicine as a whole, and I'll broaden that out to East Asian medicine as a whole, has always been how do we stay alive, not just the treatment of disease, but how to live a robust, healthy lifestyle.
Yeah. Which of course is nowhere close to what anybody around here is talking about, right? I mean, isn't that like tip of the tongue of everybody you talk to or you see? Oh yeah, robust and and all this kind of stuff, and it's interesting how things come around.
It really is, and I always thought it was funny when the buzzwords or the buzz term self-care started coming around. It's like what's the expression, when we need to talk about ethics, it's too late. It's same kind of thing with self-care, right? That's great, but like structurally, systemically, the way we live our lives are not the way that we have healthy, abundant lives. And some of that has been, we can talk about corporate greed and all that nonsense, but like really, like we have a lifestyle that is moving so fast that it's like faster than human beings can keep up with, and it takes its toll on us, right? There's not an ample time to recover. We're eating, but we're not eating actual real foods. We're not taking the time to digest those foods. We're exercising, but we're doing it in a way that's like, I gotta get this in. I gotta hammer this hard. Why? I gotta get to the next thing. And we're abusing ourselves. And one of the things that's beautiful about Chinese medicine is that, they talk about this concept of yang shen, right? Yang shen means nourishing life. Right. So it doesn't matter what age we are. It doesn't matter the hand we're dealt at birth. How can I do the most with what I have, where I'm at right then and there? And that comes down to how do we take care of ourselves? The things we do, like acupuncture, these adjunct services that we should go to before the wheels fall off the car. That first little knock, don't ignore the warning light. Because then we can sidestep. And then we end up on prescriptions and getting surgeries and having massive expensive interventions,
or just suffering for years and decades, right? Saying, oh yeah, I gotta go make that appointment. Right.
And I think that comes down to the stress and speed of life too, right? We have the best intentions, but the things that nourish us tend to fall away first when we're under stress. I don't have time for meditation. Why? I got to get to this appointment. And even the classic meditation thing is that you should meditate 20 minutes a day. Unless you don't have time, then meditate an hour, right? I mean, it's this tongue-in-cheek joke of how we should be taking care of ourselves. Like if you don't have the time, if you're too stressed to, that's when you need it the most.
That's very, very true. Yeah, for sure. I know. I can't even remember the last time I sat in meditation. In fact, our room that we used to have and I say used to because it's now full of books, but we don't don't do it there either.
I
So
gotcha. I
we,
gotcha.
we walk. We walk.
That's good.
We
That's
go out
good.
for a walk every day. Yeah.
That's good. I mean, that's no different than, everybody having the treadmill that has clothes on it.
Yeah.
It's what happens, right? We
Yeah.
we we live in modern times with modern
Yeah.
conveniences that
Yeah.
somehow waste all our time.
Yeah. 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 And it's so funny because um both my husband and I are retired,
Hmm.
right? And all we do is complain that we don't have any time,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we've gotten ourselves involved in so many different projects and things that we're interested in, which is
Yeah.
good, but it's still, he's gotten
Yeah.
into doing music and I've been and I'm doing my podcast, plus I'm doing other stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy shit.
Yeah. And it's great that like you like, here's what I want to do, but it's
Yeah.
it's always like one more hour would be great, or like maybe if I skip sleeping.
Yeah. Yeah. No, exactly. Exactly. It's funny where you end up.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. So tell us a little more about the acupuncture and the different kinds of Asian medicine that you've
Yeah.
been
So
practicing.
acupuncture is part of East Asian medicine, which is this
Right.
big animal, right? And a lot of the main things that most people maybe have seen, right? Cupping therapy is one of those, and like I
Hmm.
said, that was done in China probably as long as cupping's been around, but it
Uh-huh.
was really claimed by a physician in 350 AD.
Oh.
He said, look, this cupping is folk medicine. People do it at home, but it has some real clinical value. You guys should be doing this. And his name was Ge Hong. He's a very famous physician.
Mm.
And of course, people took him up on that and brought it back
Uh-huh.
into the clinic. Other techniques that we do, moxibustion. So if you've ever seen acupuncture where the tips of the needle look like they're smoldering, or somebody
Mm.
has what looks like a giant cigar and they're holding it near a body and there's
Yes.
smoke coming off of it, or they see a box that's smoldering and smoke's coming out of it laying on a patient's belly or back.
Uh-huh.
That's
Right.
that's all that's all moxibustion. And moxibustion
Ah, okay.
is absolutely amazing. It predates acupuncture,
Okay.
and it's an herb that literally is a weed that if you're going out on a walk in nature, you're probably seeing it. It's artemisia, mugwort.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and it's amazing where clinically they've been using this since time began, let's
Uh-huh.
say. And modern day research shows that it's anti-malarial, it's anti-cancer,
Oh
it's
my God.
antiviral,
Really?
antifungal. Yeah,
Wow.
to the point where in 2015, the woman that won the Nobel Prize in medicine, she
Hmm.
was a traditional acupuncture, East Asian medicine
Mm.
practitioner, and a clinical
Mm.
researcher,
Oh.
and she got the Nobel Prize in medicine for work she did in the 70s. And she
Ah.
extracted a compound from mugwort,
Uh-huh.
artemisinin, I believe is what the compound is called. It's one of
Mm.
and she developed a medicine that treated malaria and saved 70,000 people in Thailand.
Holy shit.
So
Wow.
yeah, and the research that's coming out like from the 90s and even now, when we smolder moxa on the body or near the body, it
Hmm.
burns into an infrared signature, and we know now that infrared heat, infrared
Yeah.
light
Right.
has a potential of stimulating cell growth and all of these things.
Uh-huh.
We know that burning moxa on specific points increases white blood cell count, so we can use it for patients
Wow.
who are immunocompromised. It is an absolute love of mine, and when we say acupuncture in
Uh-huh.
any Asian language, because they all borrow the Chinese, it's
Mm.
two characters. The first is a hand with a needle. The second
Uh-huh.
is the character for fire with something twisted above it, right? And it's thought
Ah,
that that's the
okay.
smoldering of this
Right.
herb.
Yeah.
So we don't just say acupuncture. We say, like, correctly, when they were trying to translate books into English in the 70s, they were trying to be as correct as they could, not
Yeah.
as readable.
Uh-huh.
So they would use the word acumoxa. Now,
Huh.
moxibustion, because it's burning and you get smoke. A lot of
Okay.
clinics don't do it, but this is a traditional practice that has such great value. We definitely do it in our office. Our neighbors at State Farm, because that's who's on the other side of us,
Uh-huh.
go, who's smoking weed in here. And it does have a thick smoke
Okay.
that does linger, but they don't know what weed smells like. It definitely, like,
Okay.
I see why you're
Yes.
saying that, but
But yeah,
that
yeah. Let me get
that
some
does
weed
not
and
smell
and
like
and I'll light
we're,
it for you,
we're
and you can see the difference.
we're now recreational in Maryland too. So
Oh, well, there you go.
there's no one doesn't know what weed smells like anymore, but it's always
Yeah.
funny when somebody goes, "Are you guys high?" And you're like, "Look, I'm wearing scrubs. I'm not high yet."
Yeah. Right.
You know,
The scrubs
but
come off when I get
this,
high.
yeah, yeah, I'm home when that happens. But within that, we also have cupping therapy. I mentioned
Hmm. Right.
moxibustion, gua sha, which I think you're starting to see a lot now, which is a gua sha literally means scraping sand.
Mm-hmm.
And all the influencers on TV or on Instagram, they're using it for facials, right? So they'll take the tool and they'll work their face.
Ah.
But traditionally, this was a therapy. Like if somebody was sick, right, they'd say, "Oh, we're gonna scrape the sand," right? And what happens is, what I think they mean there is the fascia layer. As you're scraping over areas that are inflamed, you get these little granule site like areas under in the fascia, so between the skin and the muscle. So when you scrape slow, you hear, and this helps realign that fascia, right? But the other thing it
Wow.
does is it breaks the capillaries, similar to cupping, which does it with suction.
Okay.
And they'll say, "Oh, it's taking toxic heat out." So here's an interesting thing, a cultural thing. In
Uh-huh.
the 70s and 80s, Chinese mothers and parents would do this on sick kids to help clear respiratory infections. But they get to the school and they'd see these lines that look like belts, right? So
Oh
child services
no.
was
Oh my
called,
God.
right? So
Oh
this kind of
yes.
cultural ignorance there. We didn't know what this was. And a lot of times the conversations were in broken English. "Oh, so
Yes.
did you hit your kid?" "No, he was sick." "So you hit him?" "No." "What did you do?" "I rubbed him with this tool." And what we're seeing is, yes, there's actual now studies saying, yes, this does work for musculoskeletal pain, right? The evidence is still coming back on respiratory infections, but this
Mhm.
is a technique that's super easy. And I could see myself writing my third book on it, because once again, this is another folk medicine that
Uh-huh.
is now part and parcel of East
Right.
Asian medicine. But within a few minutes, I could show you how to do it at home safely with
Uh-huh.
some minor contraindications. So that's kind of been the push there, is like, what
Hmm.
traditional things do we have? And then of course we have massage and body work. Um, but my clinic it differentiates itself because we offer like a lot of new, and I want to say new, and it's not really new, it's just new to people here. Technologies like cryotherapy, red light
Mm,
therapy,
mm.
salt therapy, cold plunges, saunas, exercise with oxygen therapy. And
Okay.
in my head, all of this new technology is just doing something that traditional practices like acupuncture and body work do, but just from a different direction. So, the cryotherapy, basically you get in a cold tube.
I
It,
know that
it certain people, it's not their bag.
no,
Trust
I'm
me,
not.
the cold plunge is far worse, and that's a lot warmer.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
But within
I
that
don't do
quick,
anything cold.
yeah. Well, we have sauna, we have red light. Both of
Yeah.
those are
Yeah.
warming technologies,
Yeah.
and
No, no, I know. I'm just saying that, it's just having tried even just putting my hands in no.
yeah, it's not for everybody,
No,
and
no, just like
certainly
the
that.
heat isn't either.
And that's why
Uh-huh.
we offer so many different things, because
Hmm.
not trying to be everything
Right.
to everybody, but like, the more tools we have to help reduce inflammation, improve that circulation, the
Hmm.
more likely we are to be able to help people with chronic conditions
Hmm.
or injuries, or all sorts of different ailments. And that's really why that sweet exists like that, why those services came together. And then we do something in our clinic where we call it stacking, right? So stacking is a term for, bodybuilders that like, what's in your stack? It's like what medication or what supplements are you taking? I shouldn't say medications. I'm implying they're all on steroids.
Yeah.
um, but within that, like, what are your vitamin routine? What is your
Uh-huh.
supplement
Uh-huh.
routine?
Yeah.
And we just applied that term to our services, where if somebody's coming
Okay.
in and they say, look, I'm in pain. Well, look, we have a stack that's all of these things together. So you come in, you do all those at once, and hopefully that synergistic effect gets you further along than just any one of those treatments by itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. You're gonna have to excuse me. I gotta close these
You got it. Yeah,
shades
no
because I'm just
worries.
like, ooh,
It's too much now. Sun peeked its head out.
No, sun still hasn't peeked its head
Oh
out. That's what's so
no.
bizarre. Yeah. But it's just like glaring, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I get that.
Yeah. Oh my God, my face is pink again. Ooh, how exciting. You can see the difference.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like I have a ring light above, and
Uh-huh.
if I turn it off of like the soft yellow one,
Uh-huh.
I flush out. It's like hospital lights.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. Anyways, sorry about that.
That's
Um,
okay.
excuse me. Yeah, so you are doing more from the I don't want to just say Chinese, but the mainland. I mean, you're not doing so much from like the Japanese because they have a
So
lot of good
actually,
as well.
I'm a Japanese meridian therapist as an acupuncturist. So I
Ah,
went to a traditional
okay.
Chinese medicine school.
Uh-huh.
My mentor had lived in both China for about a decade and I want to say 12 years in China, 10 years in Japan,
Okay.
and he mainly practiced Japanese styles of acupuncture. The
Oh,
main one being
interesting.
through one family, so it's like a subsection of a subsection of a subsection. And when we talk about it, it's almost like talking about martial arts. It's like saying you do kung fu, and you go, "Okay, I know what country you're doing the martial arts from, but is it Wing Chun? Is it Hungar? Is it Choi Lei Foot?
Uh-huh.
Is it which style is it?" And then go, "Oh, not only which style is it, what area did you learn it in?"
Yeah.
Yeah, so it gets really niche, and it's like, oh, so you hold your hand this way as opposed to this way, or something minute like that.
Yeah.
And that's what happens even in acupuncture. And a
Yeah.
lot of it is because there was always these family lineages, right? Like we do this, and this is
Got it.
ours.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And when they kind of opened up and started teaching to public, a lot of these family systems had this choice, like either we're going to die with this or we're going to share it with everyone. But all of that kind of enters into the stew that is East Asian medicine, and
Uh-huh.
hopefully makes it stronger, because here in the US we have people from every country doing acupuncture, from every different tradition,
Yeah.
and they're more willing to share and teach. So here, I don't want to say we're practicing the best acupuncture,
Yeah.
because I think that's an individual practitioner's goal, is to like, how do I cultivate myself to be the best practitioner I can be?
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of these things we get like, oh, good, I got to look at that. I like that concept from this
Yeah.
system. So a lot of us are doing some hybridized stuff, and as long as we have good principles,
Yeah.
I think they're going to get good acupuncture. They're going to be
Uh-huh.
doing good
Uh-huh.
treatments.
Yeah. 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 God, I haven't had acupuncture for, and quite a few decades, I think.
And you're in
Actually,
the
I
state
did
with
it
the
for
most
so long. I
acupuncturists.
know, I know. What can I say? I'm trying to think when, yeah, I don't think COVID affected it. I think I had stopped going before that.
Hmm.
But yeah, I went for a long time to a Chinese acupuncturist. I think, yeah, I'm not even sure if
Ah,
he's still there. Yeah. Anyways, but
yeah.
yeah, no, I it helped me a lot,
Hmm.
a lot. So yeah, yeah. And then there was somebody else who I had gone to, a woman who did cupping
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Um,
cupping's not, like I said, it's not unique to East Asian medicine. It's
right.
got roots back to ancient Egypt, Persia, Greece. So really, you have a lot of cultures where that comes from, and even
Hmm.
at our clinic, we have somebody that's doing it from a Muslim tradition called hijama,
Wow.
and it's got its own rules, its own, here's the
Uh-huh.
days you do it on, and
Oh no.
it's part of a religious ceremony. So
Wow.
not only is it therapeutic, it has these, I'm going to say holy day of obligation kind of thing, because
Uh-huh.
I was I'm a recovering Roman Catholic, but yeah, I was trying to say that as gingerly as possible, and I didn't do it at all.
That's
Um,
fine.
but within,
Don't worry
but
about it.
within, but within
I don't,
that,
no, nobody who listens to my podcast ever sends me any kind of
any
information
hate
or
mail.
message. No, I don't get messages. I don't get anything. Yeah.
That's okay. That's all
Mm.
right.
Whatever.
But
Yeah, it's
yeah,
fine.
yeah, within that, it's a very unique system that's different from the cupping that I do, coming from a
Uh-huh.
Chinese medicine perspective. So it's interesting that these techniques, and when I used to teach it, even all my foreign students would say, grandma used to do this, and
Oh,
when
wow.
yeah, when they did it, here's how they did it, right? Oh yeah,
Ah,
so we teach
yeah.
fire cupping to healthcare professionals, right, where we use fire to get
Thing,
the
huh?
vacuum,
Right.
and the home cupping. Like I said, it's silicone cups, plastic things that
Uh-huh.
are not going to burn your house down or hurt you, or but even the way they apply the fire in different countries. I talked to somebody
Hmm.
from Syria, and they said, oh, we make our cups with a longer neck so we can take a piece of newspaper, roll it up, and light one end, and then stick it in so it doesn't hit the patient. And
Ah,
one of my Italian students said her mother used to take a big coin, put a piece of cotton that was soaked in like brandy or something, some high proof
alcohol.
liquor,
Uh-huh.
and light that on fire, and then put the cup over. So there's a whole bunch of different
Oh,
ways of even
wow.
how they
Okay.
apply it.
Yeah.
And materials used. There's a guy who's an acupuncturist who takes these brilliant photos on Instagram, and I believe his handle is like the art of acupuncture or something.
Hmm.
If you want to check it out, he did this whole
Uh-huh.
series on cupping where he was using like, stemware that you would find in like a restaurant. Like, here's wine glasses, here's champagne
Wow.
flutes, and just to show that like really the technique can be done with any vessel, and
Hmm.
to take pretty photos too. Yeah,
Oh, of course. Yeah.
but this is why, like, there's a scene in Godfather Part Two, and somebody just
Mm.
earlier today turned me on to another early, like a 1960 something movie that I never heard of,
Uh-huh.
that has a cupping scene in it. Godfather 2 has a scene on an infant, baby Fredo. The grandmother does it
Ah.
on the kitchen table with like a drinking glass. Zorba the Greek has a scene with cupping. So it's been part and parcel of our culture for a long time, even though our culture is kind of made up of a bunch of different cultures. Because all of those cultures had this, which is another
Hmm.
great thing, right? We're
Yeah.
not appropriating, we're just sharing something that we
Yeah.
all kind of had in common previously.
Yeah. 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 Exactly. Exactly. And just learning the many, many, many different ways
Mhm.
it's done.
Yeah.
Just just because, right? Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting. Um, so do you, I'm assuming your clinics and stuff, you mostly just work local with
So
people, or do people come
yeah,
from all over? Or
so we do have some people that travel. I mean,
hmm.
we're in a section of Baltimore that loves staying in that section. So we have a lot of patients in and around the neighborhood. Like, if I move, I got to make sure I stay in that zip code,
Yeah,
or else
yeah,
I'm gonna get some angry letters.
yeah, yeah. You're going to lose
But
clients, is what you're going
but
to
we
do.
do have people that travel. Like I do
Hmm.
have some people, because the services are so short.
Hmm.
It's really rough if somebody's taking a 3 hour car ride to get to us, right? I would rather refer them to
Yeah.
somebody nearby. And these are not magic bullets, they're therapies. So people do tend to come in and they invest in a course of
Hmm.
treatments, and
Hmm.
that needs to be convenient. Some of the
I
services only
agree.
last half an hour. You're going to take a hour long ride each way to do a half an hour service. I would
Yeah.
rather have people reach out and contact me and say, hey, I'm here, do you know anybody?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we do, I teach, I consult, and do those
Hmm.
things, and that's a little bit more nationally, internationally,
Mm.
where
Mm.
we can have a Zoom call, which is one of the great things about technology. And as long as
Yeah.
the practitioner has some experience with stuff, we can kind of work with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and it's the only problem with a Zoom call and doing something like cupping is you can't you're not there to
Yeah, you
actually
don't,
do
yeah,
it and
the
show
feel,
them,
yeah.
right? So I mean, you can try and train them over Zoom,
Mhm.
but it loses a little
Yeah, it definitely
something.
does. We had the order here during COVID that were
Yeah,
like, unless you were emergency care, urgent care, you had to
yeah.
close.
Hmm.
So we closed our clinic, and trying to do things, because there's plenty of things we can do within the realm of East Asian medicine.
Yeah.
But they knew me as a brick and mortar practitioner. Like, I go to see him. So we had some patients calling and saying, "Okay, what can you get me? What can I do at home? What's safe?" And
Hmm.
we'd gladly have those conversations, but it was like,
Hmm.
when we got back into clinic, I was pretty happy, and I think the
I
patients were
bet.
too.
Yeah. 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 No, exactly. Exactly. Um, I know I was trying to think there was somebody I was going to actually before COVID hit. Can't remember who it was. Anyways,
It
never
seems it
didn't
seems
go
like
back.
lifetimes ago.
I know, doesn't it?
Anything before COVID was like, how long ago was that? Oh, that was like 5 years now. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
right.
It
And
was
it's like,
wasn't
no,
even
it
five
wasn't.
yet. No, it wasn't five yet.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It just seemed like it because you were
Yeah.
home.
Yeah, even my kids, I have one teenager and one that's like not a teenager yet, but working on it.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Yeah.
and both of them are like, "Oh, that was before COVID," and I'm like, "You guys you don't even have that long of a history to draw from. What do you mean?" You're like, "You can't break it up like that." Yeah, I had to wear a mask. I don't have to wear a mask. That's how
Ah,
that
got
that
it.
was a
Okay.
significant chunk of their lives. It's very
Yes.
it's very weird to
Yes.
think about like that. Like,
Yeah.
how are they going to tell that to their kids and their grandkids? And like, what was that like? It was real weird. We wore a mask everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, exactly. Exactly. And it's you know, and it also, it impacted us in kind of the same way,
yeah.
and yeah, no, I was just going to say it, groups and everything from theater shows to art museums to gyms,
Yeah,
right? People primarily have not come back.
yeah, and some of that, like, I guess, is good, right? We found different ways of doing things, and then,
I don't think
yeah,
they've, yeah, I don't think that's
yeah.
true.
I think
I
the biggest hit for me,
think
I
they
think, is
just stopped.
that sense of community.
Hmm.
Like, losing
Hmm.
that, right? We don't go out and interact with people as much anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's a big shame. Why? Because
Hmm.
you might be sick. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, but I don't think that was we were
Hmm.
all in our own little boxes for a few years.
Yeah. 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 No, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Very, very strange. And it didn't stop any of us from getting COVID
No, yeah,
a couple
it's
of
rough.
times.
Oh God. I still haven't had it, and
Really?
in
Oh my
some
goodness.
ways, I feel like not that I missed out, because
Yeah, right.
I
Yeah, no, you didn't.
I
Believe me.
I did lose a lot of people that I really love.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, I mean, it was just such a weird thing that
yeah.
it really changed everything
Yeah.
for the whole planet.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's very true. Very true. And probably on that note, we should probably wrap up and
Probably. Oh, yeah, that's a sad note to end on there, but I think so.
yeah. Yeah. No, exactly. Exactly. Well, it's a note that says that we have to pay more attention and value what we have
Yeah,
more than we do.
yeah.
So anyways, okay, well let me say this, and I know it's kind of not exactly true for you, but in that this is not medical advice. And usually I say neither of us are doctors, but that doesn't totally cover your
I'm
base.
not that kind of doctor,
You're not
but
that
that
kind of
that
doctor.
that
There you
that's all
go.
right. That's all
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
And we didn't give any medical advice per se.
No, no, that's very true. That's very true. But and if you want to get more information, I'm sure you can find somebody local or
Mhm.
probably contact you as well.
Yeah,
And I will put your information into the show notes,
that's
and then
great.
people will know where to find you.
Excellent.
So thank you for being here. It's been a pleasure. And if I can find, why is this thing not working? There we go. Okay. Oh, good. And I saw the connected thing. Strange. Okay. I will see everybody else next week.
This has been Healthy Tips After 50 with Susan Rosen. To stay on the cutting edge of the most effective health strategies, subscribe to this podcast and let us know what you thought of the show with a comment or like on iTunes. Visit healthytipsafter50.com for this episode's show notes, more resources, and free offers.